You're having a Mediterranean-ish diet, but I know over the years you've played around in the extremes with veganism and
Yep.
carnivore-ish.
Yep.
Let's talk about those experiments and then we'll come back to why you're where you are now.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done a lot of different trials throughout the years. I mean, vegan, I also did like a raw vegan diet for a while, which was wild. And at the end of the day, I mean, I felt the impacts, right? I felt low energy, fatigue. I wasn't able to like do the lifts that I was doing previously. My labs were showing more nutritional deficiencies. I was having to take like even more supplements to almost get where I needed to be. So that wasn't a good fit for me. I did do carnivore a couple years back. I watched my lipids go in the wrong direction. So I felt great on carnivore. I think like a carnivore diet can be good for people that need to do an elimination diet, kind of. So they're eating like a very processed standard American diet. You go on this diet for a little while and then you kind of clear out everything and you're just like eating meat and then, slowly reintroduce things back. I mean, yeah, I felt great. I felt very strong. But when you're looking at your blood work as often as I am, it just wasn't moving in the right direction. And to be honest with you, I don't understand how some people on the carnivore diet are still on the carnivore diet and still saying that their lipids are great. I'm like, I don't know if you're looking at the same lipid panel I was looking at, but you need to be looking at everything. It's not just the HDL and the LDL. Maybe they are. Maybe they're like an anomaly and it's going great for them. But my particular biology, when I look at these advanced like NMR panels and look at the inflammation and the size and the shape and the density of the particles and TMAO and all this stuff, it was just moving in the wrong direction for me. So I'm like, that's not going to work. But I do think, if we think back, like what diets have humans thrived on for millennia? It's a little bit of everything in moderation, everything that is healthy, single ingredients. We didn't have these processed foods before. So I think for me, I have found my blood work is the best. It is my energy is the best. Everything in all marks are the best for me. And I also think through, I try to get one thing that's changed a lot with my diet is I used to have an incredibly regimented diet. I would eat the exact same thing morning, night, exact same time before my husband. So my husband loves variety. This was a big actually upgrade for me because we know that our gut loves variety. We need more variety in terms of like different fruits and vegetables and different types of food. So when I got married to him and he really loved, because he called me a mono eater. He's like, you're a mono eater. Like you just eat the same thing every day. Like because to me, it's like keeping you alive. That's how I see food. It's like best nutrition and keeping you alive, and you're doing it for your cells and your overall health. He likes to enjoy food a little bit. So I started ordering these farm boxes, and it's all biodynamic, organic produce, but every week it's something different now. And some of these foods I've never even heard of before or seen. So it's been really fun to learn how to make them, get variety, and that's been enjoyable. But also thinking about from feeding gut bugs standpoint, getting a lot of different colors, getting the fermented foods, I've found has been really helpful too.
Let's come back to that period when you're having the same thing every day. What was
Yeah.
the typical, well, not typical day, what did a day look like?
Yeah, it was similar. It was some sort of like egg with salad, and for the breakfast. And I was drinking a ton of bone broth back then because I had really easy access to it, which I loved. I still love bone broth, by the way. And then honestly, it was very similar, but my veggie was the same every single day. I was having broccoli every single day with some, amount of protein and the same exact fermented like cabbage every single day. So now I mix it up. Now I'll have one day fermented carrots, one day fermented beets, one day, a fermented like kimchi. I'm always mixing it up. And then the plants all vary a lot instead of just having roasted broccoli every single day. And then the exact same thing for breakfast. I mix up my sides a little bit. The proteins are still pretty much the same, but now I have more variety in the plants and the fermented foods and even sometimes like the healthy fat.
Given your experiences in veganism and carnivore, do you ever have periods of time, say a week, where you'll go into one of those camps again and change it up? Or even a day, playing around in the extremes?
I think when I travel, I probably um, move a little bit more towards just the protein heavy, I would say, because it can be a little bit more difficult to find and prepare, like organic vegetables sometimes. So, and also because, when you're traveling, you're kind of depleted. I'm always really looking to keep my protein high. So I probably would veer a little bit more towards the carnivore side of things, higher protein intake, versus more of the vegan side, because I feel like when I'm traveling, I'm expending so much energy that I would need a little bit more sustenance.
How do you feel about ketosis? It sounds like your diet being in the middle, Mediterranean, it would be moderate in the carb range.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that pops up for me as you talk about that. Are you ever getting into ketosis? Is that something you even care about? How do you look at that?
I used to a lot more. I used to be obsessed with being in ketosis. I've done all the different phases. I've been there. I used to check. I had so many little prick marks on my finger. They were just all bruised, my poor little fingers, from checking my ketones all the time. I felt great. I mean, I think that, you can have a lot of mental clarity with ketones. Now I'm way more in the middle. So before I was like living off ketones, but it can be hard on your body to have to make, your own glucose source over time. So I now am in the middle. I definitely do get into ketosis because I'm only having like a carbohydrate. So I'll have like a purple potato like 2 times per week. And that's really outside of vegetables, really like my primary carb source. I'm not doing a really high carbohydrate diet. So I'm like in the mid to low range. So yeah, I still will get into ketosis, but I just do the breath test now, which is not as accurate. And then sometimes I have another one called the Lumen that will tell you if you're burning fat or carbs. So yeah, I think it's good to be metabolically flexible in all ways, that you can go between burning fat and burning carbs and burning sugar. So I like to be metabolically flexible. I think being flexible is actually a sign of health. I used to be so stringent on like what I ate, the same thing every day. And now I like that flexibility. It's not like I have a ton of flexibility in my life. Don't get me wrong. People would look at what I do and still think it's incredibly stringent and rigid. But I do like to have just a little bit more flexibility in between like dietary choices and what sorts of plant foods and things like that I'm doing. But I feel good when I'm in ketosis for sure. And I think we should be able to flux in and out of that stage.
And I'll add to that as well, where you're in a position where you've been doing this for a long time. You're metabolically flexible. You're metabolically healthy. You're a good weight. But a lot of people that come to our information are overweight, obese,
Yeah.
metabolically unhealthy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the majority of people, in the West are in that boat these days. So that's where lower carb, ketogenic,
Yeah.
carnivore, I can definitely see in those people specifically a benefit when they're trying to lose that weight and regain metabolic health
Yeah.
versus you, who is in a really healthy position.
Yeah, great point, right? So if I were, well, first, I'm not the type of person that would really probably allow myself to, because I just have things that I do and ways that I operate. But if I were, overweight and metabolically unhealthy, which is the majority of the population, I would definitely do a low carbohydrate diet, because that constant spike of blood sugar because of these high carbohydrates, and then them just going to fat storage. I mean, this is just a quick and easy way, relatively, I think, to help to improve metabolic health and lose some weight, because we know that you can eat a lot more carbohydrates without feeling satiated if you eat, high quality protein, whether that be fish or chicken or, even some red meat. You're going to feel much fuller, much faster, and for much longer.
And for somebody that's trying to lose weight and they have carbs or sugar, it's going to bump up insulin and block their fat burning, and
Totally.
they're going to go into fat storing mode. So, and especially if they're snacking and doing that throughout the day, it's just going to continue to spiral them in this direction that's led to the obesity and metabolic dysfunction.
Yeah, it is. It's truly like so sad. And I feel bad. I mean, I think that people have an addiction and it's not even their fault, because these foods are engineered to be addictive. They are engineered to be incredibly palatable. That's why, my mom was over. My mom's like wants to be healthy, but like obviously thinks I'm totally insane for most of the things that I do. But she's like, why don't you just have like one slice of pizza one time? What is it going to do? And I'm like, it's not about that. I'm not doing it because I've actually trained my taste buds out of that. I don't remember what a piece of pizza tastes like. But if I ate it, it's engineered to make me addicted to it. Like sometimes I've smelled like a dessert, and you can just smell that this is going to be something that you're going to want to eat forever and like eat tons of it because it's made to want you to eat more of it. Whereas a blueberry, not really so much. It tastes great. Like to me, a blueberry is an amazing like dessert. Tastes great, but it's from nature. It's not engineered to make you want to eat more of it all the time.
Earlier in our conversation, we talked about fasting and your eating window, which ends around 5 or 5:30. I guess between 4:30 and 5:30.
Yeah.
I want to end on this talking about longer fasts.
Yeah.
Is that something you partake in periodically? And what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll do a longer fast about once a year. Again, this is something that I made an amendment to because I used to be fasting a lot of longer fasts. And as a woman, I, again, was watching my thyroid declining, moving in the wrong direction. So now I will do a longer fast, like 3 to 4 days, one time per year. I'll do a 1 day fast, maybe every like 3 months or so, in always in the follicular phase. So that first half of the cycle, never in ovulation or the luteal phase. So we know that there's a lot of benefits of fasting, autophagy, cellular cleaning, cellular renewal. We need time. We need downtime to let our bodies clear out damaged cells and clean up the mess. I think of it as like painting the lines and taking the garbage out, when you're fasting. So love the benefits of fasting. I think for women, we just have to be so much more careful when we do it, timing of fasting and even duration. So for example, I'll look at my Oura Ring metrics to see how much stress I've had in the last week. Like, let's say, it's time for me to do my 1 day fast, but let's say that I have, had an immensely stressful week and my stats across the week were high levels of stress. I'll bump that to the next week and I'll prioritize parasympathetic activation and then do the longer fast because these are hormetic stressors, right? If I think about how many hormetic stressors I used to be doing, I would be fasting, caloric restriction, hormetic stressors like sauna, cold therapy, hard exercise. As a woman, it was just way too much. So we have to be cognizant of that.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch the full episode. I'll see you over there.
I was taking about 35 supplements a day. This is the first time I've announced this, but I've been working on something for the last 2 years that has now been able to really condense that. I think of my supplements in different buckets. So I have what are called like non-negotiable supplements.